Tonight, cultural icon Joyce Ogies passes away. Her sterling contribution to arts, culture and education is being hailed by the cultural community. Economic Development Minister Guy Joseph urges public servants not to force government's hand. He says something has to give by Tuesday. And the NIC explains why some economic relief payments may be well below some people's expectations following public outrage about payments even under $100. The details of these stories and more are coming up.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Lovelace and Amy Joseph.
Good night. It is Thursday, the 21st of May, 2020. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. We're on Flow Channel 117. The broadcast is also being simulcast on Kiss FM, on our Caribbean Hot FM mobile app, and on our Facebook page. I'm Lovely St. Amy Joseph. Thank you for joining us. On Thursday morning, cultural icon Joyce Ogies was discovered dead at her residence in Marcia. Close friends disclosed that after not being able to get a hold of her over the phone for more than 2 days, they decided to pay her a visit, where they made the discovery of her dead body. Ogies has been hailed as a champion of folk culture and education, and her passing is a major blow to the cultural community. Genevieve Gonzague begins our reporting.
Joyce Ogies, eminent folklorist and one of the pioneers in the production and recording of St. Lucia's folk music, was found dead on Thursday morning. She is best known for her research and promotion of the music of St. Lucian folklorists, including Cess and Descartes. However, Ogies was a renowned all-rounder. She compiled and produced music, was the author of 2 books, led choir groups. She coordinated numerous research and training programs on local culture and folklore, and was an avid sportswoman and a major organizer of carnival during the 80s and 90s. Ogies' protege and close friend, Elra Ome Glasgow, disclosed she last spoke to the deceased on Sunday, tried to contact her again on Monday to no avail, and made the heartbreaking discovery on Thursday morning.
I spoke with her on Sunday, and I was trying to reach her on Monday but wasn't able to reach her. But what alerted us is that yesterday somebody called and said, well, they hadn't spoken to her at all. And I'm saying, but I didn't, even though I didn't get through with her, I wouldn't think anything of it. So when I made some calls to see, well, hey, who last spoke to Joyce, because a number we're not getting through. So we figured we'd come across to see, but then when we came to the house last night, the lights were on. I didn't want to break down any door, because if she's, not feeling well, you don't want to startle her or anything. So we said, okay, maybe she's just medicated and in a deep sleep. So we came back in the morning. By the time the sun rose, I started calling, and I'm saying, but hey, she's still not picking up. So when we came to the house, checked, this time we could smell that something was amiss. We had called the police. So the crime scene people came, they brought a crowbar, they were able to enter, and they secured everything.
She says the death of Ogies came as a complete surprise, as she has not been ailing. Renowned entertainer Ronald Bohinkson noted Ogies' indelible contribution to arts and culture.
Well, my association with Joyce Ogies started many, many years ago, maybe 70s, when the Hear and Her Voices, which is the folk group she ran, was the big thing of the day. And I was very involved in that group with her. She is responsible for producing a lot of great young singers out of St. Lucia, people like Elra Ome. Elra Ome came out of Joyce's Hear and Her Voices. And today Elra is one of the best singers in St. Lucia, But Joyce was particularly known for the preservation of St. Lucia's indigenous music, and her contribution towards that was unmatched, And I'm happy I was able to have interacted with her musically.
And on the personal side, her personality, what kind of person was she?
Joyce was a very nice person, could be very funny sometimes, and she didn't give up when she was on a topic at all. Every time she met you, if there was an issue, she would bring it up every time religiously. That's what I remember about Joyce. But she was indeed a wonderful person, and her contribution to to the culture of St. Lucia must not go unnoticed, And she's definitely a huge loss to the country.
It certainly is. And we hear a lot of times that this is a dead poets society, that we do not give people their flowers while they're still alive. Do you think that throughout her time here that she understood or she appreciated that St. Lucians understood her massive contribution to arts and entertainment, arts and culture? Do you think we did enough?
I think Joyce was given a fair amount of recognition, but I think what happens to us in our field is that after we get to a certain age, other young people take over, and we kind of go into some kind of oblivion, and sometimes it's interpreted incorrectly, But I think her contribution has been very well recognized. I don't know that there's anybody in St. Lucia who would overlook Joyce's contribution. And Joyce also did a school music program, where she taught children music on radio and taught them rhythms on radio. I distinctly remember the run and walk, and that's how she taught children rhythms, musical rhythms, with her school program, And that is, since Joyce stopped doing that program, it never resumed. So her contribution was immense.
Marie Grace is the cousin of the deceased. She says Auguste had lived a full life and always gave back wholeheartedly.
Joyce was a totally all-rounded person, and she gave everything, and she gave God the glory. She gave back in every form possible. Mm-hmm. Netball, she was an outstanding netballer. And I particularly love the fact that she organized music for the entire education system. She was very, very innovative and very effective as a curriculum officer for music. Joyce has left that legacy. And the Catholic Church, she has left her legacy there, liturgically. She has always been an organist.
Neighbors of the deceased say her death is truly one that will be felt, as she was a jovial, vibrant, and compassionate person.
When me and my partner leave to go by the beach every morning, she meets us at the beach at 7 o'clock. So when we don't see her, I decide, how come she don't reach yet? So when I see her shopping by the Malabar beach coming, I said, Alex, Ikavini. Very jovial woman, very nice lady, very woman that you could speak to. Maybe she had no children, she had no child. But at the end of the day, she take everybody for her child and for children.
Joyce Auguste's legacy spans various sectors, including performing arts, culture, and education. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzague.
Meanwhile, the government of St. Lucia says it is with great sadness that the nation received the news of the passing of the local music icon. A press statement noted that Auguste's contribution to chorale and folk music has been immeasurable, and she was instrumental in the recording and preservation of indigenous music. Minister for Culture and Creative Industries, Fortuna Belrose, was at the scene on Thursday morning and paid her respects to the family and paid homage to Auguste's legacy.
As a country, we owe it to her, to celebrate her life. She deserved a lot. She worked a lot from the north and south, the length and breadth of this country. She gave service to our country. And so we have to acknowledge and respect, the contribution that she has made. And I'm happy that, of course, our country did that. She's been awarded time and time again for her efforts. And we can only continue to show appreciation for people like Joyce, because she has served our country well. And so I'm here basically because, I got the call to be here.
Castries Southeast MP Philip J. Pierre also paid respects to Auguste, noting her sterling contribution to the constituency and the entire country.
Yes, this morning I was called early by one of my constituents and told of the death of Miss Joyce Auguste. As you know, Miss Joyce Auguste is a long-time resident of Castries East. Ms. Joyce Ogies is a cultural activist of the Hewanora Voices. She was deeply involved in the church, deeply involved in education, particularly musical education, and the constituency, and indeed the whole island, particularly people involved in music, will miss her dearly. I want to express my sincere condolences to Miss Joyce Ogies, who was really an icon in the field, and the cultural community has lost a giant of a lady. May her soul rest in peace.
In other news, Economic Development Minister Guy Joseph says he is hoping that good sense prevails and public sector unions accept the government's proposal of 50% cash and 50% bonds for their wages. He says the ball is in their court and he hopes that it does not come to a point where the government's hand is forced. He says something has to give by Tuesday.
St. Lucia continues to be a world leader in dealing with this matter. If you look at the plan outlined by the team for the reopening of the borders in St. Lucia, and for some reason, when we speak about reopening the border, we have to be thinking of two borders, 758, 759, and the borders that are really the airport and the seaports. So I think that we have a comprehensive plan. And our plan is so comprehensive that the first world countries are looking at what we are doing, and they are not able to even begin to measure up to the standards that are set for us to reopen.
Joseph says public sector workers need to understand that their monies are not lost with the mechanism that government has proposed.
The reality is St. Lucia managed this health pandemic better than I would say any island within the region. And globally, we are among the top 5 nations in handling this global pandemic. So, given that outcome and being able to deal with the situation is to move to the next step of dealing with the economy. The country's economy cannot remain closed indefinitely, because now you have to make a choice between, do I allow people to die physically or do I allow people to die economically? And one can lead to the other in the process. So it is striking that right balance.
Joseph says the full payment of salaries is simply untenable for the government.
If we do it now, why are we having all of that discussion? Because legislatively, we cannot force the unions and their workers to accept a payment of bonds. But the government can go to Parliament and can propose a cut in salaries. We are not in favor of cutting public servant salaries because we believe in the environment that we are in. This is not the best way to go. But if you are left with no choice, rather than let the whole country default as a result, we may be forced to take other measures that otherwise we would not have subscribed to. So I'm hoping that good sense will prevail between now and Tuesday.
Public sector unions, for their part, maintain that they will not be strong-armed into accepting the government's offer. No form of intimidation tactics, they say, will prevail. After complaints about NIC payments as small as $20, the NIC has sought to clarify how the relief benefit is calculated and why there may be significant disparities in what people receive. The NIC explains that if an employer is providing an individual with a stipend of some sort for the same period of the economic relief program, NIC will pay only the difference. The payment is calculated based on insurable earnings, that is, the amount of your salary NIC is levied on less any stipend paid to you by your employer for the same period. Payment is calculated based on the information on the system, which was submitted by the employer along with information provided by the employee. Queries about the amount received should be sent via email to covid19@stlucianic.org. The opposition SLP has withdrawn its representative on the multi-sectoral committee formulated to craft an economic stimulus strategy and a plan aimed at boosting economic recovery post-COVID-19. SLP leader Philip J. Pierre says the SLP's representative in the person of Dr. Ernest Hilaire has withdrawn due to fundamental issues with the policy direction being taken by the government. Pierre informed that the acting permanent secretary in the Department of Finance had received a letter dated the 18th of April 2020.
Well, you will recall at the onset of the COVID crisis, our party decided that we would have worked with government to ensure that the effects of the crisis were limited as far as we could. But we realized that the government is not interested in consultation. The government sometimes the government gives information to the opposition, but most of the time there is no consultation. We thought that committee was looking for options as to what direction St. Lucia to take. But we realized, and that was emphasized by the Prime Minister's latest statement regarding civil servants, that the Prime Minister has made up his mind on the direction he wants to take for the country, and we believe that taking part in these discussions would be a sham, because the Prime Minister has made up his mind. In fact, he stated clearly that he's made up his mind. One of the things that we note is that the Prime Minister has decided that he wants to cut 50% from the salary of civil servants. He hasn't asked for any alternatives. He hasn't asked the opposition for any alternatives. We give the Prime Minister a list of an economic package. The Prime Minister hasn't replied. He hasn't responded to that. So we believe that taking part in this committee is a sham. We were not being taken seriously, and we would refuse to be a rubber stamp for the Prime Minister's policy.
Pierre indicated that there has been no response to the letter announcing the withdrawal of Dr. Ernest Hilaire from the committee. You're watching the Hot 7 TV nightly news. Still to come, bandits break into the famed Silver Shadow Dance Academy. Owner Barry George decries the onslaught on small businesses by thieves. Mary Isaac admonishes public sector unions, telling them that this is not the time to be flexing their muscles. And SLP leader Philip J. Pierre says under his watch, public sector workers would be treated better. These stories and more after the break.